Welcome to today's special report. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Also, let us know in the comments, which country are you watching from? Your voice matters, and we'd love to hear from you. Netanyahu begs Traoré for help. Traoré responds, "They thought they could buy me. They thought they could buy Africa. They were wrong." 3 weeks ago, Benjamin Netanyahu's government sent me a letter that changed everything. Not just for Burkina Faso, but for this entire continent. Let me tell you exactly what happened, because the world needs to hear this story. I was in my office reviewing security reports when my aide brought me an envelope marked Diplomatic Correspondence, Confidential. Inside was a proposal that made my blood boil. Israel was offering Burkina Faso $1.2 billion. That's more money than our entire national budget. But this wasn't aid. This was a bribe. They wanted me to stop criticizing their policies. They wanted me to convince other African leaders to go soft on Palestine. They wanted me to become their spokesperson in the African Union. And here's the part that really shows how desperate they were. They wanted me not to shut down their business operations across Africa. For that, they offered me an extra couple of billions on top of everything else. Think about that for a moment. They were so terrified of losing their African business networks that they were willing to pay billions just to keep one soldier quiet. But this wasn't aid. This was a bribe to protect their empire. I read that letter 3 times. Each time I got angrier. They fundamentally misunderstood who I am. I didn't stage a revolution just to become. They painted pictures of modern hospitals, upgraded infrastructure, better military equipment. They promised Burkina Faso could become a regional powerhouse. But every conversation ended the same way. Just tone down the anti-Israeli rhetoric. That's when I realized this wasn't about one letter. It was a coordinated campaign. They had been studying me, building a profile of what they thought would make me compromise. They calculated wrong. So I did something they never expected. I called a press conference and read their letter on live television, word for word, including their desperate plea to protect their business operations. The panic that followed was immediate. Suddenly, their secret diplomatic strategy was front-page news across Africa. But I wasn't done. Standing at that podium, I said what needed to be said. They believe our dignity has a price tag. They think African leaders are for sale in a global marketplace. They think they can pay us to protect their interests while they exploit our people. Today, we prove them wrong. I held up that letter for everyone to see. This document represented everything wrong with how the world sees Africa. They see us as a market, not as people. They see our leaders as employees, not sovereign representatives. The silence in that room was deafening. Journalists later said they had never seen anything like it. A leader voluntarily exposing an offer of billions of dollars. That moment changed everything. Within hours, Africa is not for sale was trending in 14 countries. But this wasn't just social media noise. It was a continental awakening. Mali reviewed every Israeli contract. Niger recalled its ambassador. Chad suspended diplomatic talks. Ghana, usually silent, spoke out in support. South Africa called our response a masterclass in dignified leadership. But the real power came from the youth. Students in Senegal protested foreign aid deals. Young Kenyans launched campaigns questioning their government's alliances. Artists created murals celebrating African sovereignty. University campuses erupted. From Cairo to Cape Town, young Africans shared clips of my speech. They weren't just supporting Burkina Faso, they were supporting the idea that Africa could say no. They called themselves the uncompromised generation. They demanded transparency, accountability, dignity in every deal. And for the first time in decades, Africa was saying no with one voice. International capitals reacted immediately. Netanyahu's team went into damage control. French diplomats scrambled. American officials quietly probed if this was an isolated case or the beginning of something bigger. China, interestingly, stayed silent. They understood the shift better than the West. Because here's the truth. We're not the same Africa they once manipulated. We're educated, connected, and united. The old playbook doesn't work anymore. You can't divide us with secret deals. You can't buy our silence with so-called aid. You can't treat us like children who don't understand geopolitics. We understand perfectly. We just refuse to play by your rules. Yes, the aftermath was difficult. Economic pressure, aid delays, trade complications. But something incredible happened. Africa helped Africa. Nigeria offered trade deals. Ghana provided banking alternatives. South Africa opened new channels. We discovered something powerful. When Africa supports Africa, we don't need outsiders. Days later, I spoke to thousands of students in Bobo Dioulasso. No military ceremony, just truth. I asked them, should we go back to silence, or do we speak louder? The answer was thunderous. Speak louder. That sound was a generation refusing to be bought. And I told them, this is not just about speeches. We must build our own banks, satellites, universities, factories, and technology hubs. We must stop exporting raw materials and start manufacturing, because real independence means economic independence. Now, every shady deal risks exposure. Every corrupt agreement could be televised tomorrow. Western media tried to spin this as Traoré risks isolation. They missed the point. We're not isolated. We are connected to our people, to our values, to our future. Companies panicked. Stock prices dipped. But then, investors realized transparency reduces risk. And honest companies that respect Africa actually thrive under this new reality. The message is clear. Africa is not for sale. Not our resources. Not our dignity. Not our future. Foreign powers can either treat us as equals or look elsewhere. Exploitation has no place here anymore. This isn't anti-anyone. This is pro-Africa. Pro-dignity. Pro-sovereignty. Pro-independence. They wanted to buy one leader to protect their empire. Instead, they awakened 1.4 billion Africans determined to protect their future. And that is our victory. The revolution continues, not with violence, but with dignity. Not with guns, but with truth. Not with foreign approval, but with African unity. Africa is rising, and this is only the beginning.